Okay, so I wasn't sure if this was going to hold together, so I didn't really narrate the first part with the indirect percussion. This is kind of a brittle chert. It's heat treated, yes, but it's I haven't worked that much with it. It's kind of a new batch, and I'm just doing this for my own collection. I have very few that I actually have for my own use or display. I do want to make a display collection eventually, so I'll nap a point that I'm interested in from time to time. Just put it in the box. So eventually I'll have a bunch of these. But anyway, after a couple of days of pressure flaking, I'm feeling it in my wrist quite a bit. Feeling sore. You know, pressure flaking on the raw stone. I chose some really hard stuff. I never really spent much time pressure flaking on extremely tough raw stone, so it was a good opportunity to get used to it somewhat, which I did, and it is going to help me with the pressure flaking on other materials. But I'm feeling it today as far as the soreness. I've gotten rid of most of the carpal tunnel syndrome stuff that I used to have. So I don't feel that acting up. It's just sore from pushing in various ways that I'm not used to. And yeah, I do use my legs to push in sometimes. But it's not a habit yet. So I do forget that I need to use pressure from my legs to help preserve the wrists. So I'm kind of developing this preform in a strange way. I think the base or the stem is a little bit too long. Yeah. There's always a learning curve with a new point style. Obviously. Okay, let's see. So the plans for the next few weeks is mainly I'm going to be making a new set of tools for everything. New abo tools, new copper, new aluminum, new steel. Bunch of new tools. And I'm also going to be designing some things I'll be coming up with some, or trying to come up with some original arrowhead styles, original knife style, that sort of thing. Let's see what else. I do want to get into some pressure jigs, some sort of devices to add pressure or to do leveraged flake removals that I haven't seen. I think I want to explore being able to create a small device where I can apply pressure instead of having to use a bunch of strength. I want to try to get something that I can use leverage with, or make something to that effect. And of course, I got to practice up on the parallel flaking, or oblique, parallel oblique, or whatever they call it. There's many different terms for that. I think it comes from just the basic resharpening technique, like that. This is just a resharpening or edge retouch, basic edge retouch in sequence. And you can develop it to a high skill, to a high level of skill. And it seems to become its own technology, but it's really just a resharpening or retouching technique, I think. It's pretty straightforward. There's really not much to it. It's not like it's a strategic thing where you have to know, or not know, but where you have to devise a strategy. This is just sequential flaking is just simple, straightforward retouch. When you break it down into the basic elements, prepare the edge so that it's strong enough to support the flaker, and then just flake down a sequence. Of course, you can be extremely careful with it, right? But that's just a skill level. You know, skillfully made notches is just notching. They don't you don't break that down into different technologies. It's just some notches are made more skillfully than others. As far as I know, I don't think notches are divided into different skill levels or different technologies. So flaking, this edge retouch type flaking shouldn't be either. Now I could correct myself on that one. We'll see. Now it's easier to avoid step fractures or islands in the middle by making the point narrow to begin with. But sometimes you want a wide point. So what do? You have to learn how to run flakes a long distance if you want a wide point. and thin it with pressure. But anyway, let's see. There's a lot of edge abrading when it comes to using pressure like this. And I don't see much edge abrading on artifacts. I think I've already discussed that. So it's kind of a mystery to me, you know, what they would use as far as a technique on this sequential flaking stuff. You know, what strategy they would use. Not the tools or anything, but what strategy are they using if they're not abrading a lot? Are they, you know, using the tool tip to prepare each platform? Does it just not matter after you're skillful enough? You can just run long flakes no matter what. No matter what the contour is or what the edge looks like. Can you just get that skill that it doesn't really matter? Or what's going on? Or maybe we just don't see any abrading on the edge because they didn't stop during that phase on any of the artifacts we've seen so far. You know, it'd be unusual to abrade and then I'll just stop and leave it and do that for many, many points and have a lot of different knappers do the same thing over time so we can find them. It would have to be a lot of knappers doing it so we could find evidence. So maybe they were abrading, I'm not sure. At least in some cases, right? Can't be sure of these things. Why is it a big deal? Well, it's kind of a big deal because it takes a lot of time. It doesn't matter for us when we try to reproduce these things. If it's a hobby and if it takes time, oh well. It is what it is. But back in the day, taking a lot of time to do something could cost you quite a bit of trouble. It could cost you quite a bit of valuable time that you could be doing something else. Like what you say? You know, gathering firewood or chasing down an animal, building a shelter. Those kinds of things. How often do you build a shelter? Well, there's some cultures that would build shelters quite often, especially if they're following a herd of animals. They would move when the herd moves. Could be bison, could be deer, could be goats, or sheep, I should say. Antelope. We're talking about the Americas. I don't think I'm doing a very good job controlling these step fractures. But yeah. Now, a braiding, is that really that time consuming that you're comparing it to the time spent in hunting, blah, blah, blah? Well, it depends on how many arrowheads you need to make. You know, if you're like, let's say that you're under constant attack and you have to keep up making arrows. Just as an example, you have to keep up a supply. And you're under constant attack, either by natural predators or humans. I say natural, like just regular animal, non-human predators. You have to keep up your defenses against bears or mountain lions or whatever. Get caught without weapons and you're dead, basically. You know, it could come down to, well, if I just had one more arrow, that could have killed the animal, but it ran out of ammunition. It's because it took a long time to make it. Very labor intensive. I'm cheating with the step fractures. I'm pushing off the step fracture with a very strong metal tip tool. Yep. I'm cheating in that part. Because I'm basically just making this for fun. It's for my own collection. If it turns out well. If it turns out that I don't like it, I'll just give it away or something. Okay, now I gotta be careful. I gotta learn to use this pad when there's, you know, delicate tips and barbs. Use the squishy pad. See, I push the limits of it. Because I want to be able to send in long flakes without the flakes stopping. Without the flakes being stopped by the pad. Okay, I'll continue on the next segment. I think I can get rid of those step fractures there. Okay.